Mr. and Mrs. Banks, what's up?
What's going on?
Greetings.
Greetings.
AKA Wife Mommy CEO, AKA Minda
Yes.
Banks. What's
Yes,
going
Repping the
on?
set.
Hey,
First of
yo,
all, where y'all at, man? The background is dope. Where y'all at?
We are at the family farm.
Yeah.
So we on some farmland.
Farmland, man.
Dope.
Yeah.
I am I'm so happy to get an opportunity to rock with y'all for a little bit. I'm so excited to talk to you. There's many things I feel like you can add as far as knowledge to our community, and I know that my audience will definitely appreciate what you guys got to offer. This is a passion project of mine where I want to really highlight people that look like me, Black and brown folks that are doing amazing things in the community. And you guys have been doing that for years and years. And I just want people to get an opportunity to know y'all. So what I like to do with all my podcasts is ask you to tell me a story. It could be about anything, but what story you got for me today?
I'm gonna let the wife mom CEO start first because she's the spokesperson for the House of Banks. So go ahead, Ms. Banks.
Well, first, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's always our honor to be able to share, the information of wealth with our people. So just a little bit of background. We've been in business and in the financial space for a decade now.
Yeah.
A few years into my tax preparation business, I met Mr. Banks, and he was helping people, fix their credit and on the personal side of, some things. And we decided that, hey, tax preparation and you're helping people with the personal finance side of things. Let's blend that,
Yeah, let's blend that. We did.
We did. I
Literally.
didn't know that he was
Literally.
that he was really trying to bag me or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
I went to the business meeting with America folks.
Basically.
Oh, you was playing no games.
Yeah. No, it was no games. It's like, nah, yeah, do business with me. You'll be quiet.
And 10 years later, here we are. We've helped hundreds of people fix their credit. We've helped them remain tax compliant. We've funded over $1 million worth of businesses. We've helped people establish business credit, remain tax compliant, and buy land, assets, trucks, all, you name it. We've pretty much worked with someone in different industry.
Yeah. So I'm actually a Southern guy. I'm from Alabama. She's from up top, but she was raised down in Florida. So it took a little time to get the culture right. They have some things a little different. She's like, "Why are you speaking to everybody?" And I'm just like, "What do you mean? I'm walking past people." But I tell people all the time, like on our podcast 6 days a week, we were just discussing commerce is one of the last episodes, and commerce means social intercourse. You know what I mean? And when you're in the world of commerce, you have to meet people. You know what I mean? Whatever your business is, if you're a dry cleaning business, you got to get out and meet people. If you're a cleaning business, you got to get out to meet people, get contracts. If you are a transportation company, you have to go out and get on the load board and talk to different people who are shipping things and negotiate your prices. So when we really think about what we're doing, what we try to do is bring people to the first business, that is family, and then show them how to create the other small businesses and those other businesses that we create. So, me and her, we've been together about 7 years now. Our children are getting big fast, and we love working together. It really helps having the dual component in the business. I would say so. It's a little bit about us. Family moguls.
Dope. So I think it's amazing that you all have been able to come together and build a business, as husband and wife. A lot of in this particular case, it's a myth that, you know, Black folks say, you know, don't work with family, right? You know, don't mix business and family. And, you know, so how has it been with you both in terms of like separating the business partner aspect of your lives, then breaking off to a husband and wife? Are you able to turn it off and on when you need to? Because I'm sure, you know, there are late nights, there's meetings, there's conversations, there's business deals that happen, but then you just want to be Sam, right? And you just want to be Jay, like you just want to be people. You don't necessarily want to be in the business mode all the time. So how have you guys both been able to maneuver that through the years?
I would say it's not an easy thing all the time, but they first of all, Walmart. If you look at the definition, the actual name of Walmart on the paperwork, their company is called Family of Business. It's a family of business.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Business don't rule the world. Families rule the world. So there is no off. It really is no off switch. It's 6 days a week. We rest on 7 days. You have to be able to. It's not like we're not all the time just like business. No, it's not that. It's that, hey, we know when we get up in the morning, we have to go out and catch the food for the children. You know,
Mm-hmm.
our paycheck don't show up automatically by no means. So if we don't get up, we can't. You know what I mean? Like, when are we never thinking about how are we gonna catch the food for the family?
Right. But what I will say is, because we do take resting on the Sabbath seriously, we definitely have one day for sure where we're feeding each other spiritually, where we're not talking about any kind of business,
Yep.
and we actually take a full day of rest.
Yep, that's it. Like that full, the Sabbath. Yeah, go ahead. That's spot on. Because I guarantee you, Friday night at sundown, Saturday night at sundown, she don't have to. It ain't gonna be a business word come out of my mouth for nobody. Our phones don't ring. We shut it all off.
Yep.
So,
So we definitely have that.
so Samantha, you building this brand, Wife Mommy CEO, and those seem to be some identities that you connect with, you know, as a woman who is raising a family, building a business, and as a wife. How have you been able to distinguish the times in which you really dig into those things, right? Because there's sometimes you have to be more of a wife than you are a CEO. Sometimes you have to be more of a mom than you are a what, you know what I mean? So how have you been able to sort of, because I don't want to say balance, because sometimes you need more aspects in one depending on the day or the hour for that matter, right?
Right.
So for the
Right.
sisters who are watching this or listening to this, what advice would you give them to create harmony with all their ambition and not just sticking to one and say, you know, I'm a wife and that's just kind of it. That's just what I am. But they want to do these other things.
Yeah. And that's a great question. And how I operate, I pretty much give in to what is needed at that moment. So because for one, I'm a wife and a mother first.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I'll issue a refund quick if I have to tend to the needs of my family. So if one day me and Mr. Banks are having some challenges, I'm probably going to stop what I'm doing to tend to that. But how I normally just operate on a day to day is depending on my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have, because everything is scheduled, I can't do anything sporadically for the most part because I have too much going on. So if on my calendar something is scheduled earlier in the day, I'll do the homeschool and spend time with the children later on in the evening. And if my calendar starts later on in the day, then it's vice versa. I'm going to schedule the homeschool and the timing earlier in the day and then focus on the business later on that day. And we do have, I delegate. So that's another thing. I can't do everything. You know, I'm one person, so I don't mind delegating, you know, to someone else. So we do have a team of other bookkeepers and CPAs where I might assign one of my tasks to them,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so that I can tend to the family. But I pretty much just work around a calendar schedule for me, but I do tend to, if an emergency arises, the family's gonna come first.
Okay. Dope. And Jay, what is your sort of philosophy and sort of supporting Samantha in those endeavors? Because on the other side of it, you're a husband, a dad, and also
Yeah,
a CEO.
CEO, yeah.
So how have you?
Farmer.
Is it, as guys sometimes we struggle in one, not smothering our wives in terms of like, love, can you do this, can you do that, can you do this, because she already is juggling 10 different things. But on the other end is just like we want to feel like we are needed and wanted and want to help. And so how have you balanced all of those things?
Well, I would say my biggest contribution to delegating to her, because she knows she gets delegated to, like, a lot. I delegate. So I try to stay out of the mix of, on certain processes, because
Mm-hmm.
she knows that I'm a hunter. So I go do my process. You know what I mean? It does become a bottleneck sometimes, because she does juggle a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we really focus on building our business infrastructure, building, the team that's technically outside of the family. They're in the family, but they're not in the family. They work with us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And building out systems. I would say I challenge all the brothers. Um, the women that you're dealing with, your potential wife or potential mate or your current wife, they have interfaced with the dominant male of the society, and they're pretty sharp. They got a schedule. If your girl went to the military, she know what an order with the seal look like on a piece of paper. And when she get to work, somebody's telling her what she needs to get to doing.
Mm-hmm.
So when we don't embody uh, structure, being able to be systematic in our approach and clear in our vision, um, you know, it doesn't really work. It kind of leaves the female kind of not having the wife not um having a clear direction on what she her mission. Because her,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like she said, family comes first. So she needs the mission from me. So I have to deliver that mission and move out the way and let her let her truly be the CEO of the family and the business. So I try to put components to help her. I try to put other teams, other components around her
Mm-hmm.
and accentuate, hey honey, you need to move out the way now. We'll let our staff do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just tend to the babies a little bit more. We're at the point where we can let our staff do that. We oversee our staff. So letting go of the need to try to do every single file ourselves. Like she'd be like, I got like, nah, we got a staff now. So it's taking time. Um it's been a process, but we find our way through it. So for me, man, I stay busy, but that's another conversation.
And we
Okay.
remain adaptable.
That's dope. And you mentioned all the people that you've helped. How have you actually been able to build community while also growing your family, growing your own business, and sort of being great partners for each other? Sometimes it's just like, man, I got the business, I got the babies, I got my husband, I got my wife. I ain't got time to be dot dot dot, right? But you found a way to continue to build community. So how are you all doing that with all that you have going on?
Well, here is one thing that I do when I'm not feeling Mr. Banks on that day and we're just like upset with each other because he's implemented certain tools inside of the business. I'll, instead of trying to communicate with him like face to face, because I can't let the company go down because I'm in my feelings today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just talk to him via the tools that we have through the system as like a colleague.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll, talk to him through the business messenger and,
You,
do
you meant as your manager, not your colleague.
see, maybe stuff like that.
What you mean? I'm not your colleague, girl. You better get back to work. No.
So at times like that is when I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to talk to him today. I'm just going to send him a message or an email through business messenger.
I think quarantine, the COVID world, kind of, we got space. You look around us, this is space. So,
Mhm.
uh, so when we really in our business mode, she's over there, I'm over here. She might come by and, try to see what you. I'm on the phone. She gonna go back to what you were doing, and we space out. We space out, but we get it. But we get it done, and then you can tell when we both trying to figure out. Are you done with the heavy lifting of business? All right, now, and now, and then we'll make, all right, cool. Now we just be Jay and Sam. So it has its time. That's, like restaurant owners. A restaurant owner has a time when he gets in, he's doing pre-stock, then the lunch rush comes. It's time to break down and go to the next shift.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Dinner team, it start off slow, then you get in the thick of the dinner, kicking your butt, then you go sit, you start breaking down for the next day. We have days, we wake up, we look at that calendar, hey, like you said, hey, it's going down the first 3 hours of the day. You know what I'm saying? Kids, go have a seat. My baby can read because our daughter's reading at 5 years old. Excuse me, at one.
She was reading at 18 months.
18 months, yeah.
And the 4-year-old literally reads to the toddler.
Okay.
I called her 5. She's 4. So she just so, the way she talks to us. So in the middle of all that, we got reading 4-year-olds that reads to the smaller ones. How? Because we don't really exclude our children from what it is that we're about.
Okay.
So many times you start thinking. That's why I say business is personal. Behind every business, there's a family. You know what I mean? So Jay has a business. Jay, there's a family. There's people that count on you on the other end of that. So I can call it. Sorry about that. I can call it business. However, we want, call it business all we want to. It needs to be called. It still is very much personal. So to my point, the children need to know. Hey, when we sit in this computer, we're not playing video games. We over here taking care of the family. And so our children already know, oh, dad and mom, they are taking care of the family when they sit on the computer. So when
you
they
all
get to a computer, they know
community. That. You guys are building community from the inside out. Starting from the family and then working your way outward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that point. That is the sense of it. We start building that nation and tribe in your house. You got to have a good house. I got to have a good house. Everybody worry about your house. Stop worrying about everybody else's house. That's how you build community. Start at home. I'm gonna make sure my little girl reading that for her. Now, show me what kind of son you got.
Right. And so,
you know what I mean?
and so, talk a little bit about, because you brought up your children reading at such a young age, and that's amazing. Talk a little bit about sort of the traditional education system and financial literacy, because I think what you're doing as far as tax preparation, I feel like a lot of us delegate to the Jackson Hughes H&R Blocks, and we don't. A lot of us don't actually know how it works, and I don't know if it's intimidating because of the big words, or we just don't have time. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, and then Jay, can you talk about sort of like the importance of understanding credit and how that, because you guys seem to be coming from two different worlds, but have blended it together to really have a solid foundation on building generational wealth. And I don't think a lot of tools that we get in the traditional education systems gives us that, particularly in the Black and Brown community. We have to go elsewhere to learn those things. So could you, give us a little bit of insight on the importance of understanding both of those aspects of finances?
I'll set the groundwork for it, and I'm gonna hand it over to Samantha. First of all, most of the major principles in the traditional education system, they teach you those things early on in grammar school. They do not give you a refresher course going out into the adult world. One. Okay. Two, your mistake when it comes to taxes and your lack of information on taxes, because your first major tax decision is done probably by your first employer. and they just shove this little piece of paper in front of you, and you just
Mm-hmm.
signed up for taxes, and you don't know that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then your second experience with the financial world is when you turn 18 and you get some student loans if your mom and dad hadn't already put something in your name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so uh, traditional education system was not and will not ever be designed to teach your children what the cryptographer bankers put together to make sure the average person never ever really truly understands. The average person. The
Mm-hmm.
only way they're going to learn it, they're going to learn it from at the house. So, with that being said, Samantha, what are some of the common mistakes that you're seeing
Mhm.
that people they're just not grabbing? Like you said, they delegated. What are they
Mhm.
not grabbing about taxes? Because you wasn't taught at home.
Well, let's start with who you're delegating this to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block, or whatnot, they're delegating. Okay, they hire a group of data entry people for tax season because of how busy it gets. Everyone's trying to get their taxes done.
Right.
So they're delegating it to somebody who took a few week course on data entry. So now, not only are you delegating it, you're delegating it to someone who doesn't have your best interest because they don't know, and you don't know what you don't know.
They're not.
Right. Right.
So now you're going in there, and you're not going to get all the tax deductions. They can't advise you on, what you should and shouldn't be doing. They can't give you tax advice. So now you're just going with what you hand them, and that's all they're going to do. They're not going to find anything extra, do anything extra for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when you do it yourself, and if you have a
Mhm.
business, now if you're missing something or there's a particular document or whatnot that you need, now you're on your own because most tax professionals are not going to assist with tax returns they did not do.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's best to hire someone who's seasoned that knows what they're talking about, but also educate yourself enough too so that you know just a little bit about what they're talking about as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't go into it blindly. Um, but some of the common mistakes I do see is thinking that you can do everything yourself
Mm.
in those aspects because it's actually costing you more to do it that way. If you just have a basic W-2, then yeah, that's fine. But once you get into retirement accounts, investment accounts, entrepreneurship, it's best to go to someone who knows what they're going through.
And what
Um,
they're doing. And
yeah.
and, and I want to speak to one of those points that you made, Samantha. Why are they making these mistakes? Because of who they watched. Most people get their first tax returns done because their parents like, well, this is my tax profession. So if your parents got it going on and they know and they got a good system, those people usually are you kind of inherit that information.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or you got to find it for the first time. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's one of those situations. It still come back that was my family educated enough to understand tax breaks. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And who's gonna teach me that? My daddy or and my mama. It wouldn't. You're not gonna get this from a counselor or school system.
And everyone's not just going to do tax.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
And so Samantha, when you deal with particularly clients in the Black and Brown community and building community, do you take the time to actually explain and walk them through and be like, it's clear that you don't know what you're doing or what you're getting yourself into by submitting this document or not submitting this document or not crossing crossing your T's and dotting your I's. So do you find sort of your way of building community is actually in giving information that you don't actually have to, right? Because they delegated, they're like, here, take it, right? I'm paying you to do my taxes. I ain't got time. But do you sort of pull them back and be like, no, you need to get this, because if
Absolutely.
you don't, then we're gonna be in trouble. As a community, we're gonna be in trouble. Do you agree
Right.
with that, or
Yes, I do that all the time,
okay?
especially with my high income earners, especially those who make over a certain amount of money with no children. Because
Mm-hmm.
now you're paying more in taxes if you're not doing this and you're just giving them the money. So when I see that you owe, I always try to come up with strategies and try to educate you on the process, including some of them. It just might be that they filed exempt all year and they don't even know that they were exempt because they don't know how to fill out a W-4 when they go on to a new employer.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, to avoid this situation, you can do one of two things. You can either go fix your exemption on your W-4,
Mm-hmm.
That's major. I mean,
or
that's that same
yeah,
first piece of paper that someone probably helped you filled out when you were 16, still at the house. And
exactly.
it's still coming down to how you fill out that piece of paper at your job changes your tax situation. That is what's missing in our. That's a major piece
That
missing in
one
our
is
community.
a major piece because if you fill it out right, you can actually keep more of your money throughout the year. Or um, starting a business. There's 475 tax deductions from operating a home-based business that if you already have a hobby and you're already doing something in pursuit of income,
Mm-hmm.
you can start taking these deductions.
Sure can.
Mm-hmm.
So now, even if the business fails, you tried and you got to get it back on your refund because this is money that's coming out of your paycheck, is going to them per that tax bracket. This is what you owe them regardless. So unless you change that total income by utilizing your deductions, you have to give it to them anyway. So why not at least try, since it's going to come out of your account anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and fail? Or how about you succeed? And
Right.
now you have this whole other income that surpassed your, job or et
That's
cetera.
right.
And then owing taxes is not necessarily a bad thing when you're a business. It means you made a profit. It means you did good this year. Now we just have to focus on new investments, to mitigate that. So that's something that I'm always talking about with my clients,
That's
whether
right.
they want to hear it or not. I'm like, hey, this is your situation and these are your options. You want to do anything about it? Some of them just be like, oh no, I'll fix it yes next year. Or some of them is like, no, yes, tell me more.
Listen, we're
So
pretty
is it one
good.
of those things where you tell them like, well, they're like, well, to start a business is going to cost too much, LLC or whatever, however they set it up. But
Mm-hmm.
you're saying it's not so much what it costs you to do it, it's what it's going to cost you if you don't.
Facts.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Now, Mr. Banks, credit. Why is
Oh yeah.
why is credit so important, particularly in the Black and Brown community? Not so much having an 850 credit score. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about simply understanding how it works. Because a lot of us is just like, nah, I don't want no cards. I don't want nothing. I don't want, it's like people feel they're really, really sensitive around credit, whether it be a credit card or, unless they buy in a house, most of us don't want to actually have discussions around credit. Why do you think that is such?
It's genetically imprinted upon us through trauma, through our
Mm-hmm.
history. Some of the first term loans were these bundled term loans that were marketed to our community. You used to buy you used to get like all your goods. You might get this one bundle, and it
Mm-hmm.
might have your flour, your corn, whatever. And it's like it's a bunch of items. And genetically, what we went through during the Jim Crow era is that when these initial term loans came out, and if we ever defaulted on it, we have went through violence in the taking back of those goods before. So I submit to you that one of the reasons we just is because genetically our grandmama, we right back at home again. Our mama, our daddy, our grandmama have been violently undertook, to take back, a defaulted loan. We have some, I would say we have something imprinted in our memory that, hey, don't take that loan. And one of my favorite scriptures, Hosea 4:6, it says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. And because you reject knowledge, I will also reject you. and I will reject your children, and they won't be no priest to me. So when we start talking about a community, it requires solid family. And when you got families who are afraid to gain the knowledge of the current situation that they're in, quite frankly, those children are going to be at a financial disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Example, major example, if you got bad credit, you have to pay a month or 2.5 times rent to move in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got good credit, you just move in for the application fee and prorated rent. I can walk in. With good credit, I can walk in the door on a $1,500 apartment. It's the 17th. I give them a $99 application fee and give them prorated rent, $700 right now, and walk in the door with the keys.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
want to add to that.
Right.
It has a lot to do with mindset too, because of what was already imprinted in our
Mm-hmm.
ancestors, and it's been transferred down. Um, then we also have like the consumer mindset too. So we're not looking at credit as an opportunity to not only save money, because it costs you more to have no credit or bad credit. Because
Yes.
look at the interest rate. If you
Yeah.
finance anything, um, you're going to pay more via interest, and you're not looking at it as also an opportunity. So now I don't always have to use my savings if a tire does blow out, or if I want to start a business. If you're utilizing credit more onto like ownership mindset versus just consumer, because you're not going to get an ROI from a purchase.
And that's the problem. That is the major
Gucci
problem.
shirt, Gucci purse ain't gonna give you an ROI.
That's right.
But if you use that to go build your website and pay somebody to do your taxes or whatnot, run ads, now you're gonna see an ROI on your money.
On their money.
On their money. There you go.
Is it costing you interest if you made it on their money? You hear me? Now, like, that's a mindset statement.
Mm-hmm.
We get people business funding all the time. They say, "Well, what's your fee?" Well, I find you $100,000, and I'm going to charge you 9.9%. That's $10,000, and they're thinking from the consumer mind, "I'm gonna pay 10,000." No, because if you buy a truck with that $100,000 and the truck start making money, and the truck is paying that $100,000 worth of debt off, did you really pay $10,000 out your pocket?
Right. Right.
And what we're not understanding is, especially when you're making over six figures and you do pay certain fees, all that is tax deductible. It lowers your tax liability. So when you're actually making a certain amount of money, you want to spend money because you're going to give it to the IRS anyway. So
Exactly.
spend it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So I want to make sure clip that. That's another one. But now, speaking of credit, and we can't. I think this is important for this podcast. Speaking of credit has what? Interest rates, and we don't understand the true cost of what we're borrowing. So that's why you see failures in the borrowing process. You understand that when you say, I want to, Jay, give me a number. If you go buy you a brand new house right now, how much you think it would cost?
In Boston, at least for a decent house, you look talking about $500,000, 500,000.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So, all right. So I'm gonna bring it down. We're gonna say you got a basic house in Boston, a $300,000 house. A $300,000 house at 5.25% interest is going to cost you $198,000 in interest over 30 years. You're already buying a $500,000 house at $300,000.
With that interest rate.
With that interest rate.
You get that?
Yeah.
With the 5 points. Oh yeah, sure, Jay. Just 3% down, no problem, and your payment's only gonna be $1,700 a month. You look at your paycheck, you do the math, you're not realizing there's some insurance and taxes, the roof leak, plumbing go out, and this is the minimum that you can pay every month for it, and pay the most amount of interest.
So you just got the basic house for the same price as the better house.
Yeah, and
because you didn't understand interest.
You didn't understand interest. So now if we go get that other house, how much is the interest on that one?
Mm.
And it's really important because in 2020, I've asked people who've made major purchases, like let's say a car. A car is a major purchase.
Correct.
Right.
And
Second
I'm
major
like,
purchase. It's the second one. Number 2 behind house.
so I'm like, okay, congratulations on your car. What's your interest rate? Oh
I
no.
don't know.
What? How'd you sign that paper and not know, at least know, even if you don't understand how, that's going to compound over the years,
I know.
you don't even know the actual interest rate.
Nah.
And I'm telling you, I've asked people this recently, and people in 2020, even with financial literacy, people still don't know the interest rate on paperwork that they're signing.
That was house. You just mentioned car. You don't know the interest rate. You don't know the actual cost of the loan. Okay, that's why I call them cryptographers. Yeah, $299,000 house at 5.25. They really said 600,000, and they're saying that in your face. So this is the reason man, I don't want that. But you'll run face first, still into a death trap. Mort's age. You're gonna be about dead when you finish paying it off. How are you going to leave equity to your children after you paid $500,000 for a house that's only worth $299,000?
Mm.
Tell me how you gonna leave some money to your kids?
And the way the market is right now in 2020, most people are not going into a house with equity in it.
No, they're going right a little bit high over so somebody else made the money and you be the fall guy on the mortgage.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The fall guy is the mortgagee. The mortgage is called amortization. It means to be put to death. And when you look it up, y'all. An amortization calculator. You just put the loan amount and it tells you exactly how much that loan is going to cost you.
And so that's really key in understanding when the newness wears off, when the shininess wears off, right? Like, you sign folks, taking pictures and stunting for social, and they say, I just bought my new house, or I just bought my new car, or whatever. It's great.
They're purchasing.
But, if that's cool, kudos to you. But once that newness wears off, and now, like you said, that roof starts leaking, or that car needs maintenance, and you're 2, 3, 4 years in, and nobody actually cares about that 5-year-old Benz or that 4-year-old BMW, and you still paying $8,000-$9,000 between car note and insurance for something that you kind of don't even like no more. Like, most of the time you kind of don't even like it no more. You don't want it no more. And so that's why I really wanted to pull that from you all, because I think that's really important for us, particularly in the Black community, to really understand, what we are putting ourselves into, but more importantly, what we're putting our next generation into, because a lot of us will buy a house for the family, right? To say, I want my kids to have a place to call home. Great. But if you can't keep that home, it really, it doesn't do your family any good. And really understanding for us, this whole idea that we can't hand our children success, right? We can't say, here, put it in your hand, here's success, without actually understanding how to get to them. You can't skip steps, right? You can't, if you don't know, if you give your child $1 million and you ain't been giving them game on financial literacy, then you really have wasted 30 years, 40 years of your time, money, and energy to work that hard for your children, but you missed the step. And that step is to teach them how to actually manage this so you can keep it. And I think what you all are saying is so, so key. And I really want my audience to understand that the goal for us as a Black community is to give our children options, not success. Options. And the only way you can give them options is if they have an understanding of which way to go. Right. And so it's just like you said earlier, they've been doing the same thing because they mom and them did it. Their grandmama and them did it. They daddy did it. Right. Those W-2s, and they just been filling it out, and they really don't know what they're doing. So now they feel like that's their only option, when in fact, they could be starting a business. They could be doing tax write-offs. They could be doing deductions. They could be buying assets and not liability. All of those things, that's what creates success. From what I can see, unless you guys have, a different perspective than what I'm sort of gathering from what you're saying.
No, that's exactly right.
That's spot on.
And if they mom and daddy didn't do it, then they think it's a scam. So they fear what they don't know. So that's spot on.
It's spot on. You know, I always look to the Bible for inspiration, and one of the things that stood out to me in the book of Proverbs, it says, "Prepare thyself in the field, then buy your house." So there's a reverse. I'm submitting to you is that you all need to start uh, uh, purchasing land, have some more babies out. Okay, there's your workforce. See what I'm saying? I got something for the community. There's your workforce. You
Mm-hmm.
got children, right? Your captors took us and built this country with our blood, sweat, and tears, and some more on top of that, and built it with what comes from our body.
Right.
Go get you some land, over 10 acres. Make sure you got a little water source on it, and purchase that. And if you could build one little raggedy house on it with your own hands, you still won. The reason why I'm saying, imagine a generation of black babies, little boys and girls that can live a life and not have to pay rent.
Yeah. And so
Because
No rent, a whole life rent free.
so
because what
I think that's so key as well. But the other question I want to ask you both is how has being entrepreneurs during this time, particularly the pandemic, how has that been for you? Because a lot of us have had to pivot, right? Whether it's they're getting furloughed, either laid off, or job. There ain't no more job. It's just the whole company's gone, right? Or you have to pick and choose when you can go back to work because the babies are still home. So you all have been doing this prior to the pandemic, but now in pandemic, do you feel like you were prepared, or did you also have to pivot as well based upon your business?
there was still some pivoting that had to take place,
Mhm.
very small pivots because the what this new normal has been, we've actually already been living it. So
Yeah.
we've already been doing this. The kids were already home. We were already in position to capitalize because we stayed ready, so we didn't have to get ready.
Hmm.
Um, we don't have to, run to the grocery store either with the bareness that's there because we already, around some farmland. Um, so I think we've already prepared ourselves for this.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I say it was spot on. Like we had already been giving preference to our online customers, those who were willing to meet with us virtually, over and charging to meet us in person. To
Mhm.
hey, just hop on Zoom, so we ain't got to come all the way to the office.
Mm-hmm.
And and so for us, this pivot, we had people helping with the children and stuff like that. So that was about the major difference. The children wouldn't go to the babysitter for just a few hours or something if we had something to do at the office. Now they're just at home, but we were already homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
We was going through some of our belongings. We stole some of our desks out of our storage
Mhm.
instantly, and we could see the look on all the parents' eyes. There's like, yeah, if your child gonna be homeschooled, you gotta have a desk, and they're just like, but why they gotta have a desk? And so we didn't experience a lot of those things. We I was already building, doing my part as CEO and husband, is that I realized everything's going very digital and it's being forced digital. I saw it when the state of Georgia made it mandatory to file all lawsuits digitally. They don't even take the paperwork in, they scan it, stamp it, and give you your copy back. So if the state was going through a full digital lawsuit process, government's last thing to change,
Mhm.
that something clicked in me like, nah, all this is going digital. They don't want the paperwork and they want to scan. It's a wrap. You're going to have to be able to interface internet wise. Now they don't have to go down to the courthouse to file that eviction. They
Mm.
can sit at their computer, fill out the paperwork, pay the fee ahead of schedule, and press a button and file eviction. Press a button and file lawsuits. So if the government can do that now, I knew as an entrepreneur, for me, I was already preparing our business to move in that direction. And I've helped others prepare to move in that direction. One of our clients is over $100,000 a month, following our advice to go digital with one of their products.
And so because I feel like I could just pick y'all's brains for hours and hours, but I know y'all gotta go. Y'all got businesses and families to run. So what two questions. The first one, when during this time, what advice would you give couples in looking at their finances and what they need to know before starting a business? Because some of y'all, some of my audience will be like, oh, okay, we need money. You got good credit. Okay, I got good credit. Okay, you got a job. I got a job. Okay, let's start a business. And then they start a business, and then the paperwork's not filled out properly. Things are not. And then they come to you, Samantha, to be like, all right, I started a business. Do my taxes. And they didn't do the necessary steps to actually prepare for a legit business. So can you give, one or two tips for couples who are looking to sort of pivot in this pandemic and have a more of an entrepreneurial approach to the next chapter in their life?
So one thing that I would advise is mentors.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because you can Google all you want and find all the steps and YouTube University, but there's only so much. And yes, there is a lot of useful information out there, but experience is going to trump that. It's not theory at that point, So having those questions answered, those tough questions, is very important, and it'll save you a lot of money and time trying to do the research. I was trying to research something the other day. I was 45 minutes in, and I was like, let me just call somebody who knows. And she was able to answer my question in 5 minutes. I wasted 45 minutes because I didn't want the help.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and yep. And then the next thing is, as soon as you incorporate your business, you need a business bank account. You can't use a personal account.
Never.
Even if it's a separate account. We're like, oh, well, I just have a separate account with another bank that I just do business from. The IRS don't want to hear that.
Yep.
They're going to say, well, you're going to have to prove to them at that point, because it came out of a business account, why
I have a personal account.
Why have a personal account? And how do they know that it's not a personal expense and it was really a business expense? So making sure you're separating things on early. And another thing, people like to come back to the bookkeeping after they start making money. That is the fastest way to overpay in taxes. And if you want an accountant to clean it up, it's going to cost you more than starting it up fresh.
It's a waste of your time and money if you don't do that.
It's a waste of time and money. And that's a big step that everybody wants to skip. They want to come back to that later, or they feel like they can do it themselves. At the end of the day, there's still certain accounting rules that you have to go by. A lot of people are buying 18-wheelers and writing it off as an expense, and you don't see it nowhere on the book. That's supposed to be an asset for your company, and you didn't list it properly. So stop trying to, do everything yourself. It costs to be the boss. So, if you don't know that space, continue to thrive in the space that you do know and delegate to where you don't know.
Yeah. That's real. I'm so glad, Samantha, you said experience. I read a quote. It was like a meme online, and I chuckled because it was so true. It says, it asked the person, it says, how do you become successful? And the answer, it says, make the right decisions. Next question. Well, how do you make the right decisions? Answer, experience. Well, how do you get experience? Answer, making the wrong decisions, right? And so having a mentor, you're not actually paying for what they know. You're actually paying for the mistakes that they made, that they now understand how it affects their business, And I think that's, like you said, having that sort of angst of asking for help, particularly, wanting to be independent and wanting to, cut back on costs. Again, it's not so much as what is going to cost you to do it, is what is going to cost you not to. And so I'm so glad you said experience and mentorship, because I think we need to be okay with asking for help, particularly, when we're just starting out and we don't have any experience. We need to pay somebody else who got that experience to help us get through and maneuver.
Mm-hmm. And it might and it might just be for a time being. You might be able to catch on to whatever it is and then do it yourself. But don't go in, with the mindset of this is gonna cost too much, and now it's actually costing you more.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because they don't know it's gonna cost them more until they actually go ahead and bust their head. And I think that's what the culture we live in is, that I'm gonna make my own way. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a lot easier to build a road on a cow path than it is to just go straight through the middle of the trees to the thicket.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You don't realize a lot of streets that you drive today is because the cow had already traded down the land walking through here because it was the easiest way to get through here.
Mm-hmm.
The engineers didn't go back and be like, no, we're gonna do it over there where them trees at. No, they went where it was our no, this is the easiest path. So if you got somebody that can flatten out the road and even things out, we had a pilot just join us, join our the legacythinktank.com, and he wanted to join because his life is checklist.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he doesn't do his checklist and something go wrong in that flight, it puts him in the ground.
Right, right.
So the same thing with his business, you got to have a checklist, and part of that checklist is a mentor. Part of that checklist is proper accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you're just gonna lose money. So as mentors, we show people our checklist, how to fund it right, stay compliant always. Don't make the mistake. Let me go ahead and tread that pathway out the way for you. So that's something that's major. And as far as the answer to that question, as far as couples, first of all, you are two business entities. It is important that you all, if I before you do it, Jay, I got to say that. I'm sorry. I hope that ain't too vulgar for you.
Nah, you good.
Podcast.
You good.
Before you do it, I'm talking about before you get into bed, y'all should have already had all these conversations.
Yeah, because
what's your finances? What's your business?
What did you call it earlier? Social intercourse?
Social intercourse. Before y'all get to doing some commerce.
Yeah.
Y'all need to do some background checks on the. We need to look at the balance sheet. How many student loans you got, babe? You cute.
So hold on. Time out, Mr. Banks. Time out. So I need to come. If I go on a date, I need to come with my credit report. My 6 months bank statement. I need
your profit and loss.
Yeah.
Your balance sheet.
That's what I need to do. Okay.
Mental health background. All that. I mean everything. Like if you were I am about to acquire assets.
Because
I ain't being funny. You know what I'm saying? She's an asset.
Yeah.
This lady, when she at the computer, I clean, invoice clean. I said, oh, she's sitting at the computer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Oh, a document signed. I'm like, oh, my baby at the computer.
Right.
Asset. So you need to know what kind of assets you bringing on into your company. It's funny, man, that business, I swear business is a knockoff copy of the family. It used to not be so business. You was working in the 16th century family, the large nobility, their families were considered institutions.
But it's funny that folks look past that. It's funny that folks look past that because if you look at divorce, it's most of the divorces end because of finances. So to not consider that before you even get married, I feel like it's backwards. It's just like because a lot of folks will push back and say marriage and relationships about love. But if you get married and you get divorced, God forbid you get divorced, the lawyers are not going to ask you how in love you were with that person. Is like who got what, how much you owe, what assets, what liabilities y'all got, and this is how we gonna split it up. And so to have those conversations very, 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 very early on is really key. Now, obviously, love is a huge part of being in a partnership, but there are some things that need to be discussed and hashed out prior to you having social intercourse.
Funny because that's what he basically told me in the first meeting. We were literally having our first business meeting, and he said, "You understand that doing business with someone, doing commerce with someone is marriage." And that was his. And I'm like,
on the table like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, you just said yes.
You ran all this game on me.
Like you just said yes. And I explained to you what the word means. Okay, you're still here. All right.
Y'all a trip. So listen. So where can folks find y'all? Where the businesses that you all are doing? You guys have been helping hundreds of people getting financial literacy and understanding credit and bookkeeping and taxes and all that. Where can folks find you?
Well, first of all, you can find us at My Financial ID on Instagram, at the Wife Mommy CEO on Instagram, at Minor Banks on Instagram. Those are our personal and business pages. we do our mentorship. We got online courses that we teach live.
Mhm.
And that's at the
I
legacythinktank.com.
think we had Mr. J in there, at one point. We can't leave that out there. Jay did it himself, and we were honored to be able to have you join our
Absolutely.
program.
Absolutely, man. I was definitely one of the, one of your first generations of students, going through that class. And, I learned so much, which is exactly why I wanted to have y'all come on, because I learned a lot. Samantha gave me game on taxes and stuff years ago. My sister gave her game.
Yeah.
Right. And then, here comes Mr. Banks. Well, Jay, let me put you on with this. You know about this credit and that credit and this thing. And I was just like, okay, I need to have them on the show because I know I can't be the only one that doesn't know this information. And so, this platform is really to help us grow. And so I appreciate both of y'all for rocking with me today and giving us your knowledge and your grace, because I think it's really, really important. And, I'm grateful for you both.
Likewise.
We really appreciate you, man. And we enjoy what we do. It's for the community.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And so before I go, because we don't hear it enough from each other, I love y'all. I see both of you. What you're doing is important. Your work is important. You as human beings are important. And please continue to, share your light and to share your wisdom, because we need you.
Thank you.
We need you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you, man.
All right. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thanks.
All right, man. Love.
I appreciate it, bro.